Greetings and salutations, friends. Character NPC back at the gaming table. Today with setup preparations for Battle 4 and my playthrough of World War II battles in historical order with my friend. Two of us playing at the table using the Europa series of games. If you saw my last video, you saw the maps that came with the Winter War. This is a printout of the maps from Total War. I'll show a little more detail as we go along here, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the game itself, what the victory conditions are, kind of what I'm up against. I'm playing the Finns, and boy, it's going to be tough. It's like with the Polish, you know, it's a foregone conclusion that the Finns will be overwhelmed by the Soviet forces, but how well will we be able to defend against them? And can the government remain free, or will it be captured? Mainly the objectives for the Soviets is to take all the cities, including point cities, which I didn't mention in the last video, but basically all cities in Finland. Each Finn point city, Soviet owned at the end of the game, plus 5 points. 10 points for reference city, 20 points for dot city, 40 points for Helsinki, the capital, and an additional 10 if the Finnish government is captured. For Finland, each Soviet divisional unit in the replacement pool at the end of the game is plus 2. Each Soviet divisional unit or cadre strength at the end of the game is plus 1. Each Soviet divisional unit isolated at the end of the game, plus 1, and each Soviet air unit eliminated, plus 2. You can have accelerated foreign aid if you choose, as an optional rule, as the Finnish player, but you can see that you lose 10 victory points for that. I don't know whether I'll do that or not. It might be worth it. Add up the Soviet and Finnish victory points at the end of the game, subtract the Finnish total from the Soviet total to determine the margin of victory. And there you can see what it is. So the game consists of 10 turns, November 2, 1939 to April 1, 1940. You can also see on this chart the success table for the ski units retreating before combat. Success is on a 5 or 6, but you can see that there are some modifiers here. Plus 4 for Finnish partisan units in partisan mode, plus 2 for Finnish ski units on November 2, 39 and December 1, 39. So the first 2 turns, the Finnish ski units will get a plus 2, plus 1 for the December 2 turn. So a little bit of an advantage there early on, when the Soviet forces aren't expecting those ski units to be slipping off into the woods and disappearing. The Finnish order of battle, mainly here in these forts, the Kanaksen Army and the 4th Army Corps, along with a few Coastal Defense Command. This is an additional Coastal Defense Command unit. Anyway, it's just a few little battalions and regiments that were a part of the coastal defense that I had them here, since these are coastal hexes in here, but in the battle. I'll also have some high command reserves to place out anywhere in Finland once the Soviet player has set up. So these forces will go last. It's not a lot, mostly heavy AA, 5 heavy AA, and a ski light infantry regiment. So not a lot, but anyway, any little bit helps. The Soviet order of battle, the northwestern front are these units here, consisting of the 7th Army, Group Grendel, later the 13th Army, the Leningrad Military District Reserves, and the Northern Front units consisting of the 8th Army, which must be deployed between the two pennies, just north of Lake Ladoga, the 9th Army, which can deploy anywhere north of the penny up to somewhere around in this area, but a bit lower than all of this here, which is really designated for these units called the 14th Army in Murmansk. Finally, the Soviet air units, they have quite a bit. Not very powerful, but a significant amount. The Finns only have 2 air units, and I believe it's 1 bomber and 1 fighter. Not very effective. And here you can see where a lot of the action is going to take place on the Finnish-Soviet border. See the dark border line there, and Leningrad, with his forces coming this way from the border, and from Leningrad here, it will be tough to hold out. The Finnish forces have these ski units, and there's a slight advantage in the wintertime, when it's snowing and combat is taking place in woods. They get a +1 to the die roll, and there will be some opportunity for them to retreat before combat. And so here you can see better view of what the map looks like, and I would agree it is beautiful and has a lot more detail to it than the original GDW or the GRD maps. You can see there's some nomenclature here around Leningrad. It looks to me like these are train, so maybe some rail hub, rail points, and what all this provides you strategically in the game, you might say. I don't know. I'll have to find that out from my opponent when we get together and talk next. Here you can see Finland, Soviet Union, the little, what looks like kind of like a train car, and the A. I assume the A means there's some kind of intrinsic anti-aircraft there, maybe because it's a rail hub, or who knows. I don't know. I'll have to look into that. But much nicer generally. This is the set of forces that I've set up so far. The way the order of battle is deployed, the Finnish forces deploy first. We had a series of fortifications that are deployed first off, almost along the border. 1 in each of these hexes. There are 5 divisions. And then, of course, the supply lines that travel through here will be critical, because he'll obviously want to connect his forces coming from here, weather line A here. This will be important. We're actually going to use Storm Over Scandinavia rules for this because of the cold, how it affects everything from stacking to movement to attacks, air, all kinds of different changes. The Finns also have, as part of their defenses on the border here, have the northern Finland defense area. Actually, these units have to be deployed north of this axis. I could put them all the way up there on the northern coast to defend a port up there, but it's just not doable. I don't think it's a good strategy to try to defend it versus trying to consolidate forces and do what I can to defend down here closer to Helsinki and the factory at Tampere. The factory at Tampere is a supply source for the Finnish forces as long as there is a rail connected to this hex on the border with Sweden. The rail connection and road in some way must connect these two for this to remain a supply source. It can be bombed as well. I don't remember the exact rules on its bombing, but basically it takes hits and does not recover unless it's being repaired by engineers, and it takes a while, so we'll see how that works out, or construction units. Same thing with Helsinki. It can be terror bombed. Hopefully there'll be bad weather and there won't be a lot of bombing at all, but it's possible. And Turku here is also a supply source. But again, the victory conditions for the Soviet forces will be to take all the cities. Here's an example of a point city. It's kind of hard to see. I'll show one that's in better view here. This one here. This is a point city as well. I'll zoom in. It's just a little point, but here's another point city. Now, they're all over the place, and each one of those points, another one up here, is 5 points at the end of the game for the Soviet player. Here, as another example, is a reference city. It has a circle and is not filled in. There's a close-up of it. Not filled in. There's a point city in comparison with it. Here's an example of a dot city worth 20 points. Zooming in on it, you can see it's as large as the reference city, but it's filled in. So how to defend these areas? You got me. I plan to do my best to defend these forts as much as I can. He's not going to be able to overrun me, I don't believe, because of the terrain for the most part, but also I'll just make sure that I have enough points stacked in the hex to prevent a 10 or 12 to 1. But over here, on the other hand, I can't say that this set of forces won't be able to overrun something as I'm trying to rail things over there and prevent him from coming through. I think it's a given that, you know, a couple of these point cities are going to get taken over right away. I'm going to have to look through his supply line. This is really going to be a battle of supply and attrition for the Finnish units. We're looking somewhat from the east now. North is this way. This is Murmansk and the border with Russia here. On the other side is the border between Finland and Norway, this little top bit up here. But right here is the little point city of Petsamo. It looks like it has a rail yard in it, most likely, so it'll probably go first. I'm guessing that although there isn't a road here, it's difficult to see, but this is kind of the nuance of this game. This little dot, this dotted line is a road, and this kind of more ghosted out road here isn't road. It was planned, and they're ready to build it if you build it, but right now that is not road. So to get to Petsamo, you might want to start on this side of the river and then walk across and take it. But the way to get supply back through here will be at a cost. So as I said, friends, this is really going to turn out to be a battle of supply through winter, frozen tundra, with breaks in rail and roads that don't quite connect everywhere. The Finns trying to hold out against the Soviets while slipping away when they can to fight another day. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that yet. So I think that's it. I'll leave it here. Of course, there's battles to come, so stay tuned for more.